Hi everyone. I welcome you all to another lecture session in English language. We will be talking about grammatical names and functions in comprehension. We started this in our previous session, but wasn't properly recorded. So, for the purpose of having that on our records, I will repeat or recap on a few things we discussed in our previous session and we'll continue. So we will look at what we discussed in our previous session. Remember, the goal is to be able to address all any question that comes your way during your WASI exam. And in comprehension questions, one of the questions we are often queried about is grammatical names, and that's the reason why I'm discussing this with you. Yeah, so stick close. Maybe you'll be wondering where does this kind of question comes from or how is it posed? So usually you are familiar with having a passage and being asked questions about the passage, right? So the questions they ask you from the passage, one of the questions you will meet is a sentence that will be extracted from the passage, and they will ask you to identify the grammatical name used in the extract, and then you'll be asked to write its grammatical function. These questions come all the time. So, and it's two questions, each carries some marks. That's why we're treating this so you would be able to score the marks allocated for that kind of question. Okay, so to begin, we'll start. So in our previous session, we said that the grammatical name of a word refers to yeah, the grammatical name of a word refers to the part of speech, the phrase, or the clause it belongs to. Clause, Clause, or the clause it belongs to. So when you have the sentence and the follow-up question is what's the grammatical name, your answer should either be a part of a speech or a phrase or a clause. That's what we said. Let's look at what the next point has for us. Well, I also threw more light about the function. I said the grammatical function of a word. If you are here in a previous session, just follow through. Today we'll have a, a lot of discussion on this. The grammatical function of a word refers to the role to the role it plays in accordance with its grammatical name. And this would we'll talk about that more when we're done with grammatical names. But for now, let's keep it the way it is, okay? When we ask you of the grammatical function, is a rule it performs in accordance with its grammatical name. Is that okay? Then point three. Now, we said the grammatical name of the word refers to the part of speech, right? The phrase or the clause it belongs to. The answer should be one of these three items, okay? Now, let's look at it. Let's have an in-depth discussion. Now, if it's a part of a speech, then your answer must be clear. You have to be very specific. So let's see. There are before we continue, I want you to know this is a pre-recorded class. So at any point, if you have any questions, you may have to put that in writings and then you send it to me on WhatsApp. I'll review them. Or after the class, we can talk about that. Okay. There are 8 parts of speech in English. So if you think it's a part of a speech, we have 8 parts of speech in English. Okay. Namely, so we have noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. Interjection. So if you think the answer it's a part of a speech, your answer should be one of these. Oh, wait, there is point four. I want to add more points when. By the way, I listed items 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's 8. So let's continue. Among the parts aforementioned, well, let me say among the 8 parts aforementioned, not all have specific functions. As a result, grammatical names refers to refers to nouns, pronouns, adverb, and adjective, which have grammatical functions. So, simply put, let's start from the top. I have said that when you meet this question, what's the grammatical name of a sentence or a word? Your answer must be four parameters. What are they? It's either you are saying it's a part of a speech, or it's a phrase, or it's a clause. Now, you don't just say part of a speech and leave it there. You have to be clear, okay? So, to summarize, if you think it's a part of a speech, then your answer must be noun. So stick to this point, okay? Your answer must be noun, pronoun, adverb, or adjective if you think it's a part of a speech. Now, why did we enlist 8 items and resolving at 4? So I said that now, out of those 8 parts of speeches, not all of these have true functions, okay? And we'll be talking about grammatical functions pretty soon. You see, the function of a word or group of words is gotten from its position in sentences, okay? And behavior around words or group of words. So usually we get functions by studying the behavior of that particular word or group of words in sentences, okay? That's how we get functions. Now, not all these 8 parts of speeches have clear or um established functions, okay? Yeah, not all of these. And these questions was that are posed was a grammatical name are often continued with asking you what a grammatical function is, right? Yeah, not all of these parts of speeches have significant or obvious functions or established functions. So if you're talking about grammatical names, we're only referring to just noun, pronouns, adverb, and adjective, which have been proven to have a very well established grammatical functions. They have like a well established or fixed functions. Okay, their functions are predictable. Yeah. So in exam, if you think it is a part of a speech and you find your friend writing conjunction or preposition as grammatical, you know that right there, your friend has gotten that wrong or deviated. Okay, you have to be very careful, at least with what we've resolved at what you've learned right now. Now, let's continue. Now, what if, because we said a grammatical name might stand for just part of a speech or a phrase or a clause. What if it's a part of a speech? What if it's a part of a speech? What do we do? Right, so there are 3 names or types. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about what I said earlier. I don't know. Did I ask what if it's a part of a speech? If that's what I said, I actually meant to say what if it's a phrase, okay? Because we said that the grammatical name refers to part of speeches which we resolved that noun, pronoun, adverb, and adjective. Yeah, so the next thing is it could be a phrase. So what if it's a phrase? Okay. So there are three names or types of phrases or types of phrases. Yeah. Namely, okay, so we use these four to establish the types or names of phrases. So namely, we have noun phrase, okay. Um, skip for pronouns. So the next is adverbial phrase. Then and what? The next will be what? Adjectival phrase. So you see, it's quite easier. We use the same four parts of speeches. We have functions, grammatical functions to make up the phrases. Okay, then let's continue. Again, there are three names or types of clauses, right? Namely, we have noun clause, so the same name. So we have noun clause, skip for pronouns again, adverbial clause, right? And adjectival clause. Yeah. Adjectival clauses are also called relative clause. Yeah, we'll discuss that. Okay. Adjectival clauses are also called relative clause. So if you find this is the same as adjectival clause. Of course, we'll talk about adjectival clause. So yeah. So now in exam, if you are asked what's a grammatical name, you either say it's a part of a speech or it's a phrase or it's a clause. We don't just write part of a speech. You have to state that clearly. So if you think it's a part of a speech, the answer we don't want to see part of a speech in an exam as your answer. What we need to know or see is noun, pronoun, adverb, and adjective. If it is a phrase, we expect to see noun phrase, adverbial phrase, and adjectival phrase. If it is a clause, we expect to see noun clause, adverbial clause, or adjectival clause, right? Yes, so this is what grammatical names are all about. So now we will be taking them one after the other. We'll take now because study the notes very well. You see that if it's not a noun, it's a noun what phrase or a noun what clause. Pronoun, that's okay. If it's not an adverb, it's an adverbial phrase or adverbial what clause. And same applies to adjectives. So we need to look at them one after the other and see what it is. Okay. Now, I would entreat you to go and read about the other part of speeches that are not of relevance to us. Okay. Because we resolved that now pronoun, adverb, and adjective. We will have the opportunity to know them now, pronoun, adverb, and adjective. But what about the other part of speeches, which are verb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection? You you need to learn something small about them. Okay? Yeah, you need to learn something small about them. So I'll probably talk about conjunction and interjection, and then the rest you must go and learn yourself, okay? Or I'll just say that in brief for those or anyone who want to write. So let's start with conjunction. So when we talk about conjunctions, so this is just this is this is more like a self note, okay? So when we talk about 1 second, yeah, so there's just some personal notes I want you to make for yourself, okay? Yeah, so when we talk about conjunctions, they are words. So conjunction, 1 second. I'm just getting used to using this digital pen, so bear with me. Conjunction. So conjunction, it's a word that is used to join two words together. Yeah, so conjunction is a word that is used to join two words together. Okay. So an example is and, okay, or, right? Yeah, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So yeah, we have and, or, but. Yeah, and or, but, ECT. They are all conjunctions. Then let's look at interjections. So interjections, so an interjection, right? An interjection is a word that is used to express one's, let me roll up. Yeah, that is used to express one's thought or feelings. Yeah, so we use interjection a lot to express one's thoughts or feelings. And that's what makes English beautiful, right? Yeah, so they are sometimes we communicate these with exclamation marks. Okay. Do we know an exclamation mark? Exclamation mark. Yeah, we communicate these sometimes with exclamation marks. So there's an exclamation mark. This, right? Yeah. So let's look at some examples of interjection. So we have cheese. We use G's a lot. I can use an exclamation mark to communicate the intensity of it. G's is used when one is surprised. Okay. Ah, it's also an interjection. You can choose to bring the exclamation mark or not. Okay. Ah, it's an interjection. Ha, it's a this is used when we're laughing. Okay. Um, oh, it's an interjection. Okay. Kawabanga. Wow, I know it's weird, right? Look it up. It's an interjection and so on and so forth. The common ones. Oh, oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Oh, it's an interjection. And yeah, will is also an interjection and so on and so forth. Okay. Yeah, so I've spoken about conjunction in case you didn't know interjection. I'll discuss that, right? Let's look at, I'll leave verbs here. I'll leave verb. We'll talk about verb as we progress in the lesson. So you let's forget about verbs. Then preposition. So what's a preposition? So a preposition is a word that is used. Okay, I'm coming. So preposition is a word that shows relationship, right? Between between nouns or pronouns. So prepositions shows relationship between nouns or what? Pronouns. Okay? That's what they are basically about. So an example, and just before we continue, look, it's normally begins with a prefix pre, right? A pre means something that comes before. So usually prepositions comes before nouns. So they are used before nouns. I come before you, before you know what it means, right? So preposition, the way to identify them is that they come before nouns, okay? So for example, we have from say preposition. If we want to see that in context, we say from Amasaman. Amasaman is what? A name of a place. It's a noun, right? We'll talk about noun soon. And what is happening from the word from, it's coming before the noun, right? So that from is a preposition, okay? From is a preposition. So from in, okay, it's in a basket. Basket is a noun. In is a preposition, right? At is also a preposition. At at St. John's. At is a preposition. St. John's is a name of a place, which is what a noun, right? Then um between, yeah, between, in fact, and so on and so forth. Under, okay? Under is a preposition. Yeah. And let me be frank with you. There are several prepositions, over 20 plus. And please spend some time, Google examples of preposition and use your eye to glance through some of these examples because some way, somehow, we'll get to use prepositions in one of the functions of nouns. Okay. And if you've not gone or scanned through the possible prepositions in English, one of the questions can trick you and it will be hard for you to tell the function. So just spend time, Google examples of preposition and go through those examples so that when you meet one, for example, around, okay, around the decks, you just know that, oh, around, you just know around is what? A preposition, right? Because you saw it. It will be good for you to do that because some of them are just so unpredictable. Okay. Unless, of course, you using what I told you that I mean they come before now, so pray. I mean, but even at that, you meet certain words that comes before nouns and are not prepositions. So that's why it's important to go through them. Okay, so we've spoken about conjunction, we've spoken about interjection, we've spoken about preposition. That is it. So any other part of speech, which is the verb, we'll actually talk about verbs. So you get an opportunity to know that. The rest, we'll talk about them also because the topic is all about them. I'll allow you to write. I will allow you few 3 minutes to write whatever you want to write, and then we move on. Okay, um, so now grammatical names. We know it's either a noun or noun phrase or noun clause or a pronoun or an adverb or an adverbial phrase or an adverbial clause or an adjective or adjectival phrase or adjectival clause, right? So we will take them one after the other. We'll start with noun. Now, under nouns, we will know or discuss when to say it's a noun, when to say it's a noun phrase, and when to say it's a noun clause. Okay, I repeat. Under nouns, we'll discuss when to say it's a noun phrase and when to say it's a noun clause. Okay, and when to say it is a noun. I think I have to allow you some breathing space before we begin. So you know what? Um, I thought of giving you 3 minutes. Let's say we've exhausted 1 minute. I'm giving you 2 minutes. I'll scroll down for you to look at whatever you want to look at before we start. All right. So I think um that you've had enough time to discern. Now let's look at nouns. So we will document something down. What is a noun? So back in school, we're told a noun, it's a name of a person, right? I believe you've gotten what comes next. So a noun is a name of a person, a place, an animal, a thing, or an idea. Okay. Yeah, now is the name of a person, a place, an animal, a thing, or an idea, right? Okay. We'll talk about, okay, I guess I have to talk about that. So, this we know. So, if you are being asked what's a noun refers to a name of a person. So, Amma, okay, Anderson, Andrews, yeah, these are names of persons. A place, Amma Sama in Taifa, okay, and so on and so forth. An animal, a thing, or an idea, okay. Yeah. Now, yeah, point two. A noun phrase refers to two or more words yeah, refers to two or more words that do not contain a finite verb and behaves like a noun. Okay, a noun phrase refers to two or more words that do not contain a finite verb and behaves like a noun. Now, the next one, a noun clause refers to two or more words that will explain. Okay, let's just write that contain a finite verb and behaves like a noun. All right. So a noun phrase refers to two or more words that do not contain a finite verb and behaves like a noun. Then, a noun clause refers to two or more words that contain a finite verb and behaves like a noun. So let's see. Okay, in all this explanation, it's finite verb, right? Noun phrases do not contain a finite verb. Noun clauses contain a finite verb. So let's look at what this finite verb is. So let's look at what finite verb is. So now, um, for finite verbs, for simple understanding, and take it as all the verbs with their tense form in the present tense or what past tense. Okay, so if the verb tense is present or past, it's finite. Yeah. So an example. And before we even look at the example, understand that we have there'll be two types of verbs we'll be considering here, okay? We'll be, we'll be considering here. So we'll be considering the linking verbs. This is why I said we'll talk about verbs. Linking verb, and then I want us to look at action verb. So these are the two kinds of verbs I want us to discuss. Linking verb or what? And action what? Verbs. Okay. So now uh, we know that a verb is a doing word or an action word. Do you remember? If you don't remember and you want to write, you can write. A verb is a doing word or an action word. Any word that gets you to do something or act is a verb. A verb is a doing word or an action word. Now, yeah, so like there are two of the verbs I want us to be looking at. So the linking verb and the action verb. So the linking verb is, was. Was is the past tense of is. Okay, is, was. Um, are, then were is a past tense of are. Okay, is, was, are, were. Don't forget that we are looking at finite verbs, and I said if the verb tense is either present or past, it's finite, right? And I want to show you some examples of verbs for us to use to conduct our analysis, right? And I said linking verb. So is in present tense. If you care to know, that is why I will say, that's why when I ask, where is Andrews? Someone can say he is here. If Andrews is presently available on a meeting, say he's here. That means he's with us. It's present, right? Good. If I ask you, where is your social master? He's not with us today, right? He was with you guys yesterday. He was on a meeting yesterday. Have you seen the social master this week? Yes, he was on a meeting yesterday. Doesn't mean he's with us right now. No, he was. So was is in a past tense. He was. Yesterday is past, right? Is present, was is past. If you see any of these, it's whether present or past, it's a finite verb. So is will be regarded as such, was will be regarded as a finite verb. The same applies to are is present. Why are you guys? Can you hear me? Say we are here. We can hear you. We are here. Are. Say we are here. That means you are present with me. It's present, it's current, right? Are. Are is present. Present. So if you see are, it's a finite verb. So what is the difference between is and are? Is present. Are is also used for present tense. Okay. The difference is that is used when the number of people talking about is one, singular subject. Are is used when the number of people we're talking about is two or more, right? Plural subject. Were. Were is used when the number of people you're talking about is two or more, plural subject, and the action happened in the past. Okay, that's where you use were. So where is used for past tense. Okay. Where have you seen my student this week? Yes. They were on a meeting yesterday, meaning they are not with us now. They were on a meeting yesterday in the past. Okay. But there are several people. That's why we didn't say they was on the meeting. They, plural. No, no. When they are many, don't use was. When they are many and it happened in the past, so don't use was because was is for singular subject, right? So since you are saying they, it's either you are using are or Sorry, it's either, yeah, you are using are or were, but it happened in the past. So they were here. These are expressions you use in your daily conversation. So I wouldn't like to stress so much. I believe you really understand what I'm saying. Yeah. You can, when it's uploaded, you can play back and you will get it. But this is something you use in your day-to-day conversation. So I'm confident you know. So is present, was is past, are present, were past, whether present or past, it's a finite verb. So all these are finite verbs. Now let's look at the action verbs. So we said a verb is a doing word or an action word. As long as that word causes you to act or do something, right? So let's look at the action verbs. So when I talk about action verbs, I'm talking about eat. Eat, that means you have to put something into action, right? Start eating. Eat is what? An action verb. It's in the present tense, so it's a finite verb, right? It is also in a past tense. Whether present or past, that is what? A finite verb. Jump, okay? Jumped is an action word, right? Jump. You must jump. But what's happening is in a past tense. Once you are present or past, it's a finite verb. Kick. Kick is present, right? Kick, present. So it's a finite verb. Kicking. 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 Well, kicking. Kicking is coming from the verb to kick. To kick. And looking at the word, it was the verb, it was conjugated from, the verb to kick, and the past tense of kick is kick. Okay, it's kicked with ed. So having kicked in, well, if it was kicked present, I would have said it's a feminine verb. Okay. If it was kicked past, I would have said it's a finite verb because it's in the past tense. But kicking is a different tense. So, well, we don't care to know what tense it's in. Okay, we don't want to know. We don't want to know. We don't want to know what tense it is in. What matters to us is what verb is this stemming from? Okay. What verb is this stemming from or conjugated from? It's conjugated from the verb to kick. So the past tense is what? Kicked. All right. So kick, kicked. They are all what? Finite verbs. So kicking is not a finite verb. That's why I've put a times there. And we can create more examples. So we have eaten. Eaten, what verb is it conjugated from? It's conjugated from the verb to eat. And I know the past tense of eat is ate. So if it was this or that, since this is present, this is past, I would have said it's a finite verb. But eating is neither this nor that. So, well, we don't know where you came from. You are just not a finite verb. In case you want to know what tense form this is eating is present continuous tense. What did I say? It's past participle working. I'm sorry. Eating is in a past participle form. Don't stress your head. While kicking is in a present continuous tense. It's not your business to know what tense it is, okay? What should matter to you is look for the verb it was conjugated from and ask yourself what is the present and past of that verb. if what is written for you is one of it's coming from either the present or past, then you regard that as what? A finite verb. I can give you more. Okay, so let's look at the verb learning. So learning is coming from the verb to learn. So if it was learn, it's present. The verb is conjugated from its present, right? The word learning is not present or past. What's the past tense of learn? Learn. Learned, right? Yeah, so learning, well, it's neither present or past. So that is not a finite verb. To be a finite verb, you must be either present or past. Okay. Okay. So let's move on. So learning is not a finite verb. So now you understand finite verb. Phrases, phrases, poses, phrases don't have finite verbs. Clauses does have finite verbs. So phrases don't have a finite verb. A clause have what's a finite verb. So now you understand what finite verbs are. Let's use some examples mm, to form our discussions. So look at this. Example one. Yeah, example one. Um, the stolen car is found. Now, I want you to tell me what grammatical name is the stolen car. So, it's found. Yeah. So this is where our conversation will be coming from. Yeah, so you tell me what the grammatical name is for the stolen car. So let's see. All right. So we're talking about now. So pay attention. First of all, check. Later, you can go back. So if you look at the notes, I said a noun phrase refers to two or more words that do not contain a finite verb. Blah blah blah. A noun clause refers to two or more words and da 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 da. Okay, so let's see. The stolen car is found. Now check the underlying word. And that's what I want you to tell me the grammatical name. Check the underlying word. If it's just one, what is on the line is one, then the answer is a part of a speech. What it means is your answer should be noun, pronoun, adverb, or adjective. Leave your answer as that. So if the underlying word is one, then your answer should be a part of a speech. You don't just write part of a speech, but then what it is, which is one noun, pronoun, adverb, or adjective. If the underlying words is two or more, then it's a phrase or a clause. Now, it's up to you to choose one. To choose one, the underlying word is two or more, so it's either a phrase or a clause. Now, to choose one, check the underlying words. If there is a finite verb. So in an underlying word, is there a verb at all? Is there a verb? So in an aligned word, there is a verb stolen. We need to know if it's a finite verb. To be a finite verb, you must be present or past tense, in a present tense state or past tense state. Stolen is not a finite verb. Why? It was conjugated from the verb to steal. Is this steal? If it's steal, it's finite, it's present. But the past tense of steal is stole. Is this stole? If it's stole, then it's past tense, of course. Present past finite. Is this stole? No. You are neither still nor stole. Whatever you are not a finite verb. And remember, we said phrases do not have a finite verb. So yes, it's a phrase. It doesn't have a the stolen is not a finite verb. So in a underlying word, there is no finite verb. And yeah, of course, the discussion we having, we're talking about now. So for now, just know everything I'll give you is now. So it's a noun phrase. This is how your answer should be. When you understand this and many more examples I give you, then I will tell you why it's a noun. Okay, the things you should look for to conclude is a noun. But for now, we're talking about now, so I agree that any example, most of the example I'm going to give you will be nouns. Okay, so as long as you're able to tell it's a phrase or a clause, you put noun there. Okay, and I'm going to repeat. Check the underlying words. If it's two or more, it's a phrase or a clause. Write it like that, then you choose one. If it's just one thing, it's a part of a speech. Right here, it's two or more, so it's a phrase or a clause. Now, to choose one, I have to check the underlying words if there is a finite verb. Of course, you need to look for a verb before you can conclude, before you can even talk about finite verbs. So in underlying words, we saw stolen, which is a verb. Stolen is not a finite verb. To be a finite verb, you should either be present or past. And stolen is neither present or past. So in short, it's not a finite verb. In an aligned word, there is no finite verb, it's a phrase. If you find a finite verb, then in an aligned words, there is a finite verb, so it's a clause. Okay? Now it's a phrase. What phrase? It's a noun phrase. We shall do more. The brilliant, a brilliant girl won a scholarship recently. Yeah. Now I need you to tell me the grammatical name for the brilliant girl. Finish writing and let's talk about that together. And you can be thinking about it. I'll give you like 2 minutes before we discuss together. Okay, so um I believe you've had time to think through. So I said check the underlying words. If it is one, if it's a part of a speech, then you resolve at something, whether noun, pronoun, adverb, or adjective. If it is two or more, it's a phrase or a clause. And the underlying words here is what? Two or more. So it's a phrase or clause. Then you choose one. Now, in the underlying words, we have to look for a finite verb because that's what is going to help us choose one. So in an underlying word, is there a verb? Then we look at it if it's even a finite verb or not. Is there a verb? There is no verb because there is an article. Brilliant is an adjective describing or qualifying girl. Okay, it's an adjective. We'll talk about adjectives soon. Brilliant is an adjective. Girl is a noun. So there is no verb to even think of it if it's a finite verb or not. There is no verb, so there is no finite verb. If there is a finite verb, it's a clause. If there is no finite verb, it's a phrase. It's a phrase. Don't leave your answer as phrase. That's vague and that it's incorrect. We have to tell what phrase that it is. And it's a noun phrase because we're talking about nouns. Again, as we ascend in a session, I will tell you what or when to say is a noun. Conclude is a noun, yeah. For now, you all just using now. Yeah. We'll still do more to ensure you you get a consent. Now you look at this. What I told you should remain a secret. Now I'll pause again. I want you to think about this based on what you've learned. What is the grammatical name for what I told you? Now, before you think about everything now, you see, the finite verb must be taken from the underlying words, not any part of the sentence, just the underlying word. So if you are here looking for the finite verb from the rest of the sentence, start advising yourself. The finite verb must be taken from the underlying words. We're looking in the direction of the underlying words. There will be a time we'll be looking at the rest of the sentence when we're talking about functions. I will pause here for 1 or 2 minutes and allow you to think through this. Okay, you've had enough time. So let's see. Look at the underlying words. If it is one, if it's a part of a speech. If it's two or more, it's a phrase or clause. Now we have to choose one. How do you do that? You look at the underlying words if it has a finite verb. In the underlying words, there's a verb. The verb there is told. So let's check if told is a finite verb. Yes, it is. It's conjugated from the verb to tell. And of course, so that makes tell present. The past tense of tell is told. Okay. The past tense of tell is told. So if it's tell or told, present or past is finite. Yeah, told is it, right? Present or past is finite. So there is a finite verb in the underlying words, which makes it a clause. A clause possesses a finite verb. So clause. Now, what kind of clause is this? It's a noun clause, of course, because we're talking about noun. We just write clauses wrong because there can be adverbial clause and adjectival clause. So what clause are you talking about? Yeah, point four. Wait, question four, I mean. What I know is my problem. Yeah, what I know. Let me know the grammatical name of this too. I'll pause. Okay, I believe by now you've come up with something. So you check the underlying words. It's two or more, so it's a phrase or a clause. And we have to choose one. And we have to choose one. So we choose that by checking if there is a verb, a finite verb. In the underlying word, so there is a verb, is to know. You must know. Okay, know is a verb. Oh, and in itself is in a present tense. The past tense is new, right? So, but well, it's in a present tense, so it's a finite verb. So in an underlying word, there is what? A finite verb, right? So it makes that what? A clause. So a noun clause, right? I believe that's what you had. A noun clause. Let's move on. Isaac is my name. What is the grammatical name? I'll pause for you to think about that. Right. So the underlying word is just one. So it's a part of a speech. Right. And the part of speeches we have noun, pronoun, adverb, and adjective. Noun, pronoun, adverb, and adjective. You have to choose one. It's not a clause. It's not a phrase. It's a part of a speech because the underlying word is one. Noun, pronoun, adverb, and adjective. We are talking about noun, so it's a noun. This is easy to identify because I said nouns refers to names of person, places, animals, things, or ideas. So this is easy for you to what to know it's what and now, right? So that is that. Now I have some past questions in my head. I am going to write some of them for you to see if you can put this knowledge I've given you in practice. So, this is for one of the years. It was a comprehension passage, and this sentence I'm come to write was within the comprehension passage, and they brought it in the exam, like they brought it in the comprehension questions. They removed this sentence from the passage, brought it in the questions, and asked what grammatical name is used. So let's look at that. So whenever he went home on leave, he recounted the exciting stories about his experience. So, so this was a full sentence. Then they did this. The exciting The dot dot dots represent that the passage came from somewhere. So the exciting stories about his experience. Then you'll be asked, what 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 is the grammatical name what is the grammatical name given to the above construction? And I want you to take nouns very seriously because almost all the questions I've seen, they like asking about nouns a lot. What is the grammatical name given to the above construction? Of course, the next question it will ask is what's the grammatical function, but I'll leave it here. So you take you see this. Dot 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 the exciting stories about his experience. So you take that whole thing, the exciting stories about his experience as the underlying word when finding the grammatical names. All right. So I leave it to you to think about that for minutes, then we start. Okay, so let's see. So, um, so we taking the exciting stories about his experience as the underlying words. Of course, what's a grammatical name? So it's two or more words. It's more than it's one, two, three, four, five, six words, right? So it's a phrase or a clause. It's a phrase or a clause, right? And we have to choose one. So we choose by checking the underlying words if there is a finite verb. Okay. To check for finite verb, you have to look for a verb first. Is there a verb in the underlying words? Don't look at the rest of the sentence. Concentrate on the underlying words, which are the exciting stories about his experience. So the let's look at them. So there's no verb I can see. If you're wondering, exciting. Okay, exciting here, it's not a verb. It's an adjective describing the noun stories. It's telling us how the stories were. Okay, describing the stories. Exciting, boring. Okay, these two will be adjectives, okay, of opinions, right? So exciting here, it's not being used as a verb. It's used as an adjective here. Stories is a noun. Experience is also experience is also a noun. Okay, his is a pronoun, right? About, of course, will be a preposition, right? There is an article. Mm? All of these things I said, none of these is a noun, right? So none of these is a verb, I mean. So there is no verb to even think of finite verb. So it's a phrase. Then what phrase is that? Okay. It's a noun phrase. Let's look at it. Let's stick to that because we are talking about nouns. Yeah. Okay. I think it's about time I tell you why or when to see is a noun. Because the next thing we'll be looking at is function. So it's about time I tell you when to see it's a noun so you can be confident just as I am. Okay? So you can document this. This will probably be used to end the session. So I'm going to give you tips when to see it's a noun. After, I'll give you some assignments to try your hands on. Okay? Yeah. So tips. I want to give you tips to use. Okay, yeah, so tips to use to identify nouns. So the first tip I want to say is that nouns usually, did I spell that right? So nouns usually start with an article. Start with an article. Please listen to me because my stylus is not writing the words in full for me. Nouns usually start with an article. Okay, that's the first step I want to do today. And you can see from the examples I gave you, right? The English articles are a and the. These are the common English articles, right? And is it evident? Is it evident? It is because if you look at the examples, even look at the past question, what's happening? It's starting with an article. So after I've been able to tell whether it's a phrase or a clause or it's just a mere part of speech, how do I know it's a noun? And because we don't just have noun phrases and clauses, we have adjectival phrases and clauses, same as adverbs. So well, it's a noun because it's starting with an article, right? What other example? Forget about the rest. I'm giving you more tips. So when we get there, you understand. What other? Look, number two, it's beginning with an article there. Number one is beginning with an article there. Okay. Now, if I have to underline a scholarship also for you in future, you must be able to tell me the grammatical name. That's a noun phrase. You don't think too much, but you agree with me it's a noun something, right? Why? Because it's also starting with an article, eh. Okay? All right. So that's the first step. And I believe you concord. Now, let's look at the next one. The next thing I want to tell you is that nouns answers the question what. So usually nouns respond to the question what. Okay, what? It responds to the question what. And I want to also tell you that they might commence with what. So if it's starting with what, you should know that it's also what a noun. Do you understand? Nouns answer the question what. Okay. If it's commencing with what to, it's an indication that it's a noun. Okay. All right. Please, 1 second. Okay. So now I'm going to illustrate this with one of the examples. Let's look at example one. This is how you get to know it's answering the question what. You cover the underlying words. So if it's a passage, we'll come to the bottom soon. If it's a passage, a section was extracted in a comprehension passage, go back to the passage and then cover those words that was brought copied for you to tell a grammatical name, cover that. Okay. Now, so here is it. You cover the stolen car, cover it, assume it's not there. Hello, Dad, it's found, it's found. Hey, what is found? What is, oh, the stolen car is found. You see, the answer is the question what. Another one, won a scholarship recently. What? Right? The brilliant girl. Now, um, the exciting stories about his experience. What? So, oh, whenever he went home on leave, he recounted the exciting stories about his experience. Okay, that's one of the ways. Of course, um, not it wouldn't work with all questions. So that's why you have other tip. If you're not seeing an article, check with the other parameters I'm giving you. Okay, before you make those conclusions. It's my name. What is your name? You see, Isaac. Yeah. It wouldn't work with all, but it's one of the tips. And what look, I also said it might begin with what, so that's also enough. So number four, what I know. Number three, what? You see. So that is it. Number four, what I know. Number three, what? Okay. All right. So nouns answer the question what. I don't know if you would have to note something down that sometimes it might be beginning with what and it should be regarded as as such as nouns. I don't know if you would want to record that now. Then another thing I want to talk about is also refer to the definition. Okay, refer refer to the definition of nouns. Yeah, nouns name things, place, idea, places, or thing, right? Yeah. So if it's a name of a place, a name of a thing, it's a noun. Okay. An example is number five. That's what I'm saying. We refer to the definition. Another thing is considering the expression. Okay. The expression alone, the brilliant girl. It's also a name because I mean we've all been in a class where there is this brainiac, one person that stands out in a class. We know, oh, if you talk, oh, the brilliant boy, we know who we're talking about, that genius. Okay, so if one day, you we saying the brilliant girl in science one has won a scholarship. Oh, everybody will say, oh, is it Pearl you're talking about? Is it Abigail you're talking about? Right? Good. Um, the stolen car is found. We in a house. Our dad has a fleet of cars. Then one day, robbers came and stole one. It's been a problem in the house, and one of our sisters walked to the house and said, "Dad, the stolen car is found." I believe none of us will be asking what car you're talking about. We'll all be able to tell, oh, that car. You see, it becomes an identity. Names are identity. Names are for identification. They give you a name so that you can be called, we can identify you. So the moment something, an expression becomes an identity, it's a noun. So that is it. So now, again, you will not have a question where all these three tips work. And if you find one, good for you. Okay, but it should not be your expectation. As long as one of the tips works for you, it's enough reason to say it's a no. Okay. So, um, I will pause for you to discern. Yeah. So I'll give you about 2 minutes. Okay, so we'll give you the following questions to try on your own. It's just one or two questions. I want to see um now assignment. So I simply want you to identify the grammatical name used. Okay, so assignment. So wh what is the grammatical name given okay, to the following expressions. Expressions. Okay, so number one, he reasoned. Okay, let's complete the questions. The following underlined expressions to make you understand what we're talking about. Okay, he reasoned that leaving his retinue, oops, retinue of wives, children, servant, and relatives behind was not the best solution. So the underlying words are his retinue of wives, children, servants, and relatives behind. Yeah, those are the underlying words. Let's look at the second one. The reader's frame of mind is equally important. Yeah. So the underlying word, the reader's frame of mind. Let me know your thoughts on that. Let me see if I can add a third one. All right. The highlighted words were deleted ultimately. The highlighted words. Let me know your thoughts on that. Number four. The company reimbursed me for what I had spent. Okay, so what I had spent. I need your thought on that. Then number five, the teacher gave the hardworking student okay, underline the hardworking student a special award. Okay. If I clean the hardworking student off, I want you to underline a special award. Okay, a special award. All right. So this brings us to the end of today's session. In our next meeting, if everything is good with your work, we'll talk about the functions of nouns. And yeah, you'll be all good with nouns. Then we look at adjectives, then we look at adverbs, and that'll be the end of grammatical nouns too. Should you have any question, feel free to leave them in my inbox. I will address them when I can. And that'll be it. See you next in our other session. Bye.